Love, love, until I feel the breath of the Spirit flowing in me.
Welcome to the Spirit of Life program. My name is Lucia Pace, and today my guest is Irene Reed, who will be sharing her healing story with us. Hi, welcome to the program, Irene.
Hi, Lucia.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. Irene, I believe you had a deadly health challenge known as
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I was diagnosed on the 10th of October 2010.
Stage
4.
Right.
It had gone through to all my organs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just before you go into the story of the cancer, can you just give us a little glimpse of what your life was like before you had that health challenge?
Oh, my life was wonderful. I had a career, and I had a 2-year-old baby girl,
mm-hmm.
and she was a miracle baby, and life was sweet. Yeah,
okay.
It was great. And then I started getting leg pains, I just kept going to the doctor, and nobody could tell me what was wrong. And then I got worse and worse pain, and then I was diagnosed on that day with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which my cousin died from 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So before I was sick, we were so happy. We were traveling, and my faith wasn't strong at all. I mean, I had faith, but it was a lazy faith.
Lukewarm, maybe?
Very, very lukewarm. And I went to church when it was convenient. When I got married, we moved. And before that, I was in a charismatic church, and I was just surrounded by people who were on fire for Jesus. And then when I moved, I went to a non-charismatic church, and then I started drifting away from God. And if I remember to pray, it would be good if I remembered to pray. And I just drifted away, and church didn't become interesting anymore for me.
So then what happened? So you were diagnosed after your leg pain, your excessive leg pain. You were diagnosed to have cancer. Did they name it at that stage?
Yes. Very quickly.
And it was non-Hodgkin's
lymphoma. I was very, very sick
4.
At that point, because I had a lot of leg pain, but really it was in my chest, pressing down on my nerves that caused the leg pain. But they kept scanning the legs, so they kept finding nothing.
Right.
So by the time they discovered the mass in my chest, which was 12 by 10 centimeters, I was very, very sick. And but non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is something that is quite treatable. So they say we give you 80% success rate. And I was pleased, even though I had cancer everywhere, and I had my tummy was bloated. It had infected my liver. My heart was pumping 200 beats a minute because it was pressing against my chest. And a friend of mine, Helen, she came to see me in hospital, and she was praying at the grotto when she heard a message, Matthew 15:28. So she checked the Bible, and she told me the message it's about the Canaanite woman.
Yes.
And woman of great faith, your prayer has been answered. Your daughter has been healed. So my mom and I'm from Malaysia, and my mom came from Malaysia to look after us because I could no longer look after my little girl. And she came to look after her and me, and we were so glad, we held on to that message. And 2 weeks before Christmas, the cancer spread to my brain, to the bottom part of my brain. I couldn't move my left eyeball, so I couldn't really see. And then they say it was really bad news, and that I might not gain my eyesight again. And all I could think of was my little girl. She's only 2. And then they started treating the brain. And then 2 weeks later, it spread in the brain again, spread to the top of my brain, and I became paralyzed on the right side of my body. So I couldn't even twitch my toes, I couldn't move my fingers, and that was really bad. So they asked me to call my family to come and to see me. So everybody came, all my siblings came to really say goodbye.
From overseas?
Yes. They came to say goodbye, and I remember the hardest part was really thinking that my daughter was going to be motherless. And she was only 2, and I thought, and you know, I had faith at that point. At that point, I was praying, and I thought, if my daughter doesn't know the Lord, if I'm not around, who's going to teach her to know the Lord? And I remember my husband and I were making funeral arrangements, and I remember I gave him permission to remarry, but his new wife would have to love our little girl. And I couldn't say the Lord's Prayer. I mean, I couldn't say thy will be done. How could I say thy will be done when I couldn't imagine my daughter growing up without a mother? And then I remember late one night, I cried out to Jesus, and I said, Jesus, hold my hand. And I had my eyes closed. I was, you know, the hospital in the night it's horrible in the night. And I was just crying out to him, and I had my eyes closed, and this shadow appeared next to me. And the background was stars, and this shadow appeared next to me, and I knew it was him, because I felt that this joy in my heart, this indescribable joy that's not of this earth. And I felt I was grinning, and I felt him grinning back at me.
Wow.
And at that moment, I knew I just surrendered to him, and I consecrated my husband and my daughter to him, and I was able to say, thy will be done.
It sounds like that was a major crossroad for you. I can't wait to come back from the break to pick up on your story. So just hang in there with us. We'll go to a break now, and we'll see you back shortly. Welcome back. You're watching the Spirit of Life program. My name is Lucia Pace, and my guest today is Irene Reed, sharing her story of healing from cancer. Deadly cancer at that, Irene.
Yes.
Now, before the break, you were sharing with us that you called out to Jesus. Yes. And you had what you believe is an experience, an encounter where Jesus appeared as a shadow.
Yes.
And prior to that, your friend mentioned that she got a scripture on the Canaanite woman in Matthew, where the Canaanite woman had a daughter who was not well. And
yes.
Basically Jesus told her that your faith has healed you. Your faith has healed your daughter.
Yes.
Your daughter is healed.
Yes.
Okay, so you were hanging on to that hope, but your condition was worsening.
Definitely, and I was wondering, I mean, this message, this promise, you know, did my friend dream it up? Was she hallucinating? Of course, I didn't want to say that to her, but I was just wondering that, you know, maybe with good intentions, but she was a bit...
Maybe she was hoping in her own human self, yeah.
Yes, and maybe she was the type of person who hallucinated and with good intentions to help me,
Yes.
or she made it up to make me feel better,
Yes.
to give me hope.
Okay, so your second encounter then of divine intervention or a glimpse of hope was this shadow of Jesus appearing when you called for him to hold your hand, and you surrendered your daughter, your family. And how did you feel about your health then and the prospect of potentially dying?
I felt that I did not fear death anymore. I had a glimpse of heaven, that this joy. And before that encounter, I was worried that, when I died, would I miss the people that I love in heaven? And I felt like when I died, they were going to leave me, and they were going to go on with their lives, and I was going to be left behind. But when I had that experience with the Lord, I didn't fear death anymore. That I wanted to do His will, whether He was going to heal me or not. I wanted to do His will, and of course, surrendering does not mean giving up. I learned that I was still going to hold on to His promise of Matthew, but I was, if He wanted to take me, and His will is more glorious than my will, and that would be all right, and my husband would be okay, and my daughter would be okay.
Okay, so what happened then? You're obviously here, so something's occurred.
Yes, I started learning to walk and to write again. I had physiotherapy at the hospital, and then slowly started to improve. And the doctors were surprised. They thought, wow, okay. I was supposed to go to rehabilitation, but I didn't make it there. I was on the waiting list, and we had plans to bring a hospital bed to the house, wheelchairs, commodes, but I didn't need all of that. I went home. Of course, I walked a bit funny when I went home, but I went home, toilet trained my daughter, and that was physiotherapy. Just running after her, putting her on the toilet every half an hour, and then I started writing properly again, and it was great. And then the doctors were surprised. They thought, wow, miracle. But I had a scan again, and they said the mass in your chest has shrunk from 12 by 10 centimeters to 4 by 3. But the scans show that there's no improvement after this. So it's stuck there at 4 by 3 centimeters. You're immune to chemotherapy now. At this point, I've had 3 kinds of chemo. I went through 3 kinds of chemo. I had lost 15% of my body weight, looked terrible, had all kinds of side effects, depressed because it was just the lethargy was terrible, moody like anything, very irritable. But yeah, just the faith grew. Of that, from all that.
So did you have any other treatment? Could they do anything for you, or
no? Because
did they introduce anything else, any potential treatment?
Then the doctor said, we're going to call palliative care. Go and do whatever you wanted to do. And so we went off, and we were just numb. I've been told before that I was going to die, so this was the second time. My husband and I, we were just numb, and we thought, let's go for a movie. So of course, if you're going to die, you might as well be gold class. And then I had a call from my doctor saying, let's try to harvest your stem cells. So I wasn't quite the right candidate for stem cell harvesting because I wasn't in remission yet. But she thought, let's just try. So we tried. I had lots and lots of injections to prepare, unsuccessful. And of course, I was devastated. I would just when I came home after the bad news, I would just be in bed crying. And my mom would come and talk to me, and she would say, what's the worst thing that could happen to you that God you took God took you to eternal life with Him, and she's very wise, and of course that put things in perspective, of course. And then doctor said, let's try something else again. So we did, and it was not successful again.
That's the stem cell
second time
transplant. Second time
trying to harvest my own stem cells.
Okay. Now, I'm just going to pause you there. We'll be back to listen to the rest of your story. We'll be back straight after the break. Welcome back to the Spirit of Life. My name is Lucia, and today my guest is Irene Reed, who is sharing her story of healing. Now, before the break, Irene, you explained that you had a couple of interventions, spiritual interventions with Jesus, and then you were talking to us about the stem cell transplant.
Yes,
you
so
had 2 goes with no success.
Yes, so we tried my siblings. I have 3 siblings, and none of them matched me, so I couldn't do the stem cell transplant.
Okay.
So I was very disappointed, and I was just wondering with my friend, I asked her, you told me about, the promise of Matthew, and, are you sure that you heard it right? So she went off and prayed. And she came back with another message. It's 2 Kings about the officer Naaman. Naaman had a skin disease, and he heard that the prophet Elisha could heal him. So he went to Elisha's house, and Elisha sent a servant out and told him to go to the Jordan River and bathe in it 7 times. So he was very angry, disappointed that that Elisha wouldn't even come out and put his hands on him. And because he had traveled and journeyed so far to his house. And at first I couldn't understand that message for me at all. But when I woke up the next morning, it all clicked, I was like Naaman. I had a long, difficult journey. And I felt like it was a long and difficult journey, and God was trying to tell me it's not over yet. Mm-hmm. Metaphorically, symbolically, I had to go to the Jordan River.
Okay.
So I still have a way to go. Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay. And then the doctors, I had 6 months without any treatment, trying to harvest my stem cell. So I had a lot of pains, my chest, my head, and I thought, this is it, it's all come back. So we went to hospital because I was very, very sick, and it was just all infection. I was in the clear. And before this, I think this happened when I suddenly, it occurred to me, I was taking Holy Communion. The nun would come and see me 2 or 3 times a week at the hospital to give me Holy Communion. And then it suddenly occurred to me, I knew that Jesus was present in the Eucharist, but I knew it in my head. Suddenly I knew it in my heart that if Jesus was truly, truly present, and when I was taking him, he would be in my blood, and he was, his body and blood that I take is in my body as his cells and his blood in me, then the cancer has no chance.
Right, so you had these thoughts in hospital about the Eucharist. It was
about the Eucharist.
Would you call that like an inspired thought that you were getting, like an aha moment, like suddenly the light bulb came on?
Yes, I was reading a little bit about the Eucharist, but it wasn't a Catholic version. Mm-hmm. But then suddenly, it occurred to me that the Eucharist is healing. It's because it's Jesus, and if I take Jesus' view, I should have health. Mm-hmm. Because he is in me, and I truly, truly believed it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's that's how I can explain that that I was healed with 6 months of having no treatment whatsoever. And the doctor said I was immune to chemotherapy. There's nowhere else to go. Transplant can't do. And then I thought I had all these infections, and I thought it was cancer. And they said I was in the clear. And they said, wow. And my doctor came in and said, that's a miracle.
But just a point of clarity, when you said before you had still this excessive pain, aggressive pain, and when they did tests, they found it was only infections.
Yes,
I had no longer cancer.
No, it was a punctured lung, everything, sinusitis, middle ear infection, but no cancer whatsoever, all gone.
So my question is, was that before you had this revelation about the Eucharist, the Holy Communion, or was that after the clearance?
I had the Eucharist thought before I was healed.
Right.
When I started to believe, really believe in my heart, in my head, my whole body, that it was truly Jesus that I was taking.
Yes.
I think, and then I got healed, and I believe it was two things. It was just submitting to the Lord, His will be done, and then the Eucharist.
Right. Okay. So you've surrendered to the Lord because of that encounter with Him holding your hand and the shadow appearing at the side of your bed. You had your girlfriend come back to you with a second a message from the scriptures to do with the Jordan River.
Yes.
Then you had an insight or a revelation, internal revelation, aha moment I call them, of what you were actually partaking in, the Eucharist, and believing and then you believe that that's when the healing
took place. Yes.
Okay. Now, what happened then?
My doctors, they always thinking the worst. I went from 80% chance to 10% to almost 0% chance, and then my doctor said, even though you're in remission, let's do radiotherapy to your brain and to your chest, just to make sure that it's not going to come back. So we did. And it was a 5-week treatment, and towards the end of my treatment, I had 2 more days to go. And I met this friend whom she knew my story. She knew that I was sick, but she didn't know any of my story. I hadn't seen her for a while. She didn't know the details. And she gave me water from the River Jordan. She had gone to the Holy Land maybe a year ago. And so I had 2 more days to go. On my last day, I poured it on my head 7 times.
Oh my God. So you actually had someone give you water from the River Jordan and put it over your head. And now here you are able to tell us, you're still here with us, able to tell us your wonderful story.
18 months in remission.
I can understand why you would consider it a miraculous healing and divine intervention. Thank you so much. We've come to the end of our program. Thank you so much, and I hope your story touches someone and gives them hope on the other side of the screen.
Yes, I hope so.
You've been watching the Spirit of Life program. We hope to see you again next week, same time, same place. Take care.
Bring it to